Making money and progressing in Albion Online is seen as the biggest challenge for newer players. Yet as someone that's been around since the first days of the game, this just baffles me. Making money and progressing is much easier and safer than ever before. And nowadays, any new player can easily get on the uphill grind of farming for silver and fame without risking or losing anything. You now even have a ton of options in how you want to go about your progress. And I am saying this with a bit of envy and confusion at the same time, because I can't grasp my head around why the most asked questions are always about what to do in Albion Online, whilst there is so much to do nowadays. In this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of ways on how you can progress as a newer player without even leaving the safe zones. This literally means that whatever you decide to do from the things shown in this video, you will only go up in loot, silver, fame and even skill. But before we dive into that, please understand these three crucial things. The first one is time. All of these ways I'm about to show you require you to spend time within the content or doing the things I mentioned. There is no way around this. You will not be able to book any progress if you are not willing to put in the time. So if you are a lazy bird looking for quick ways to make money or fame, this video might just not be for you. The second thing is RNG. This is something I can't affect and something you can't affect either. It's simply a part of the game. Within some of the ways I will show you, but not all of them, RNG can play a factor in how much you will progress. Based on your luck, you will sometimes make a bit of money and fame, and when your luck is at a 10, you will make a lot more money and fame. I've done some of these activities for myself very recently, and sometimes made millions of silver and fame per hour. And yes, I am still talking about the 100% safe content, which I will go over in this video. As for the third thing you need to understand, we are looking at skill. This kind of crosses with the first thing, which is time. As you get more skilled within the activities you choose to do, you will become better and more efficient within them, which in turn will make for more progress, silver and loot per hour. I'll start with the PvE and PvP options first, and move to the life skills and market related stuff after. Starting off with the bread and butter of progress in Albion Online, which is solo dungeons. This is basically the first type of content you want to start doing as a newer player to get your progress going in game. Since you can do solo dungeons in the blue and yellow zones, this means you can do them without risking your gear. This also means that any loot and silver you gain from this activity will be fully safe and yours. Within this content, the mobs you defeat will drop silver and can also drop loot, but more importantly, you will be facing bosses that are protecting chests, which will contain both silver and loot. The chests come in 4 different rarities, and these are common, uncommon, rare and legendary, and typically the higher the rarity, the better the loot. Aside from silver and loot, the solo dungeons also make for a lot of fame, so you will be progressing in many different areas when you do them. I have a video dedicated to solo dungeons in which I explain the ins and outs of this content, so if you want to do this content as efficiently as possible, you have to check that out. I also have the perfect solo dungeon builds covered in another video, which received a lot of positive feedback, so if you want to learn everything about solo dungeons and do them in the best way possible, those 2 videos will be your best sources. Once you're used to the PvE by having done some solo dungeons, you can start adding some PvP to this by starting with corrupted dungeons. These dungeons are also 100% safe if you do them through the blue and yellow zones in which you enter the hunt level. Just like solo dungeons, you will find mobs and bosses that drop silver and loot whilst granting fame, with once again chests of various rarities. The biggest difference between solo dungeons and corrupted dungeons is that players can invade one another for some PvP action. If you activate the shrine at the start of the corrupted dungeon, you will basically tell the system that you want the PvP and will be granted the chance of invading others. Even if you decide to focus on the PvE and not activate the shrine, there is still a chance for others to invade you. This simply makes for a fair 1 vs 1 PvP battle feature in which you don't lose your gear if you die within the hunt level. And if you do come out victorious in your PvP battle, you will receive a loot bag from your opponent which contains system rewards. Therefore, the corrupted dungeon on the hunter level is an excellent way of progressing both in silver and fame and makes for a fair PvP battle without any risk of gear loss. Then we have the arena, which you can queue for solo or with a group if you want to, which is an instanced PvP mode where you fight 5 versus 5 for daily rewards. You can queue for the arena from anywhere, so also from cities, in a safe way. Therefore, once again, there is no risk to this content whatsoever. The daily rewards include silver, fame and even tokens, which you can sell or collect to trade in for various items. You can get these daily rewards up to 3 times per day. The arena simply makes for an objective-based PvP game mode with a teamfight aspect to it and allows you to have some group PvP action in a safe environment. The arena is also a great feature to practice various roles, weapons and builds. There are also expeditions which you can do safely from town on your own or with a group of 5 players. You will find the blue portal where you can start these expeditions in all of the cities. The daily expedition is great for newer players as it makes for a daily activity in which you get a reward that you can sell for a bit of silver. This content includes the so-called hardcore expeditions, which actually make for a fair bit of fame and silver, but does require decent gear and a group as well. So it's something to remember in case you sometimes want to farm fame and silver in a safe way by strictly doing PvE content. Group and static dungeons are also one of your options, which actually are soloable but not so much for newer players. You do want to have a fair bit of specs and good gear if you want to do these on your own. Therefore, you want to start doing them with a party of at least 4 players, I would say, and ideally even 5 players. You want to have a tank, a healer, and fill the rest of the group with DPS and perhaps a support player. These work just like solo dungeons, with the main difference being that static dungeons are at fixed locations. Once again, a guide is available for this content in which I show builds, explain the content and more. You will also find that one in the description below if you are interested in doing this content. Then we have Hellgates, which is my personal favorite save content, which can make for millions of silver and fame per hour. This is yet another PvE/PvP game mode where you enter the instance through a portal. Within Hellgates, you will find mobs and bosses that will grant fame, drop silver and loot, and grant chests full of rewards. Now this content, unlike everything mentioned so far, you cannot do solo. There are however 3 different game modes, and these are for either 2 players, 5 players or 10 players. So you need to have at least a partner if you want to start doing Hellgates. Within Hellgates, the system will try to match you with another group of equal numbers for some PvP action. Since you will be doing these in the safe zones, you once again don't have to worry about losing your gear. Whilst the system is looking for a match, however, you can farm the mobs and bosses within the Hellgates to progress without wasting your time waiting for a battle. In a different video, I already went over how to go about doing Hellgates, and once again you can find the link to that video in the description below. Then we have Faction Warfare, which is an entire system on its own and makes for an additional layer of futures, rewards and fun in Albion Online. In all the royal cities, you can enlist the faction of that city and start competing with other players of all the other factions. This will simply add some open world PvP to your content with once again no risk of gear loss whatsoever, as long as you stick to the safe zones. The PvP will be of various skills, from 1 versus 1 to the biggest ZVZs, where hundreds of faction flagged people will fight one another. Faction Warfare also comes with some additional features such as outposts, where you can defeat the bosses that protect them and take them over for your own faction. Whilst faction flagged, you will get faction points for doing all sorts of content. There even is a daily and monthly challenge for various rewards. Finally, you can also use your faction points to purchase various goods from the faction NPC that you can sell to other players for a fair bit of silver. If you want to make some money without the PvE and PvP, you also have a bunch of options through your personal island. Buying your personal island will probably be one of your first goals as a new player. There are a fair amount of things you can do on your player island that will contribute to getting your economy going in a safe way. I think I will make a separate guide on this topic at some point, but for now I will briefly tell you what the possibilities are. You will basically have building plots and farming plots on your island, which you can use for various purposes. Building plots can be used to build houses and place laborers. These will ask for certain items and bring back other items 24 hours later, which will make for a daily profit. As for farming plots, these can be used to grow crops, such as carrots and cabbages, or for growing mounts and animals. These actions will once again make for daily profits. Altogether, your personal island can make for hundreds of thousands of silver in profits per day. Lots to cover about player islands, but unfortunately not in this video, as I want to go over each topic very briefly. Then we have a life skill, which isn't about killing mobs or players either, but rather about harvesting the resources the economy of Albion Online thrives on: gathering. You can go about gathering within the blue and yellow zones without the risk of losing your items, since these zones aren't full loot. So whatever resource you end up gathering at the end of the day is fully yours to keep. Although you won't be able to gather the highest tier of resources in the blue and yellow zones, you can still gather up to 5.3, which is pretty close in power to tier 8, so it's not that bad either. Lower and mid tier resources will always be a necessary component of the economy and are sought for by other players. Therefore, gathering is a chill activity you can safely do in the blue and yellow zones to level your specs and earn some money. There is so much more I can tell you about gathering, and lucky for you, I already did in another video. So if you want to become a gatherer and learn how to gather effectively, become efficient at it and make the most money possible whilst going about gathering, you can watch my complete gathering guide for beginners. Then we have another life skill, which is a follow-up step from gathering, which is refining. When refining, you turn the gathered materials into usable materials that are used in crafting. This entire process can be done within the cities, therefore once again it's fairly safe. Different cities have a bonus to the resource return rate of different materials. Therefore, it's important you refine your materials in the cities with the highest bonuses to maximize the amount of profit you will make with it. So this basically means that traveling between cities will be a part of your gameplay if you wish to make the most money possible with refining. The third life skill, which is the follow-up step from refining, is crafting. Crafting is simply the process of using the final materials to craft gear. Just like refining, the entire process of crafting can be done within the cities, therefore it makes for yet another way of earning money and specs in a fully safe way. And just like refining, gathering also has different bonuses to it in different cities, therefore crafting at the right location to maximize your resource return rate and with that your profits is once again very important. So just like refining, traveling between cities makes for a part of your gameplay in order to maximize your profits. However, there is much more to crafting, such as using journals to increase your profits big time, and I explain all of that in my crafting guide. If you want to learn more about crafting and how to make the most money possible, you definitely want to watch that one. Now let's talk about one of the ways to profit from playing the market. The fact is there are a lot of ways to make money in Albion Online by simply doing the work others don't want to. This is especially true for enchanting items, and since this can be done without even leaving the town, it once again is a completely safe way to make money as a newer player. Enchant flipping is simply the process of buying equipment and the necessary materials to enchant your items and enchanting them for free at the artifact NPC. You then simply relist the enchanted items on the market for other players to buy. This process literally takes seconds, but a lot of players simply can't be bothered with it. So they will simply buy the enchanted items from the market directly and pay extra for it. Therefore, there is a lot of money to be made without any risk whatsoever by doing enchant flipping. If you want to learn the ins and outs of enchant flipping to maximize your profits, I once again have a guide on it, which you can find in the description below. I think that's plenty of content to get you started for now as a newer player. I deliberately left out some of the options because I feel like these are the more solid ones where you will still enjoy the game as you go about progressing. Once again, there will be a bunch of guides linked in the description below that will explain some of the activities mentioned in much greater detail. Learning the ins and outs of various activities will make you better and more efficient within those content, making for much more gains per hour. I must say though, Albion Online is popular for being a pure loot focused game, And if you want to take things to the next level by adding the risk of full loot to it, I got you covered as well. I have a guide on how to stop being afraid of full loot PvP, in which I share a personal method that seems to be working for a lot of new players. The truth is, the full loot part of the game will make for much more fame, loot and even content compared to the safe zones, but everyone has to start somewhere, and building your knowledge, economy and skills through the safe zones first is an excellent way of going about playing the game. I hope I was helpful within that matter and wish you lots of fun during your gameplay. Take care and I'll see you next time.